Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, YouTube? This is your host with the most, King Geo in the house. Well, today's topic. Well, it's not a topic. Today's going to do an interview with a member of Black Lives Matter. Her name is Annastashia Doctor. She's not a doctor. That's her last name, Doctor. So I'm just waiting for her to come on. I guess a lot of people are new to doing StreamYard, so they don't know how to do it. So she's probably trying to find out how to get it. But as I'm waiting for her to come on, let's just do this. Today it's not just for the Black Lives Matter. It's for that. It is for the story of a young 7 8 year old. I think she's a 7 year old, and Amaya Braxton. The story of Amaya Braxton. If you guys could Google it up, it'll be great. So you can learn more about the story. And you can learn it more than I have. Amaya Braxton was a young, vibrant little girl who was waiting outside her home in Mississippi in 2016. And as she was waiting at her home outside in the garage, a car lady driver by the name of Karen Carpenter in Mississippi decided there was a bus, the school bus was here. The school bus stopped. She apparently didn't stop. Eventually, she didn't stop. She jumped the curb, jumped the ditch, went up and hit and dragged Amaya and killed Amaya. And this happened in 2016. There's been two grand jury. Nothing has been done. The grand jury has said there is no evidence. Um, After that, there was another incident of the same thing happening, but this time it happened to a white child, and that driver was black, and they indicted that driver. So it tells you how things go around in each country. I mean, not every country, um, every state, every state that we have in the United States, you see how racism plays a big part of it. So I'm just waiting for Anastasia Doctor to come on. So we will see. But as we're going on, um, people, I want you to know that as you see on my other videos, and you see as things this is going to develop with the Maya Braxton story. They're going to go to Mississippi, but I want to tell you that when Anastasia comes on, but you can get the story of Maya Braxton at Amazon through either Kindle or hard copy. I would give you the book here. It's called God Works on Tuesdays Too. That's it. That's on Amazon. So you can get that through Kindle, or you can get it the hard copy. So as I'm waiting, so I really did an interview with in I did an interview with Amaya's mother, Andrea Braxton, which I appreciated. Um, and she's a very lovely lady. I haven't spoken to the father yet. I'm waiting to speak to him. And she's very hardened about this because she has her child just taken away from her. Prior to that, prior to this and to this horrific incident, her son's birthday was the day before that. So when for the past 4 years, not only she has to deal with the death of her daughter, she has to deal with her son's birthday, and then she has other birthdays that come in October too. So it's kind of hard. It's not. It's not very. It's not easy. Okay. And there we go. That is the name of the book. You have it on there. God Works on Tuesday too. You can get that on Amazon. You can get it with a Kindle and hard copy. So as I read the story, I read the story. It just amazes me that there's a law. We all know about the law that once a bus stops, a school bus. I'm sorry. Once a school bus stops, and that arm stops, that it says stop, you have to stop. Apparently, they didn't. Hey, what's up, Metro Gaming? I said hello, Metro. What's up, Metro Gaming YT? How you doing? So you have to stop when the school bus stops, and when the school bus stops, so you have to stop behind that person. You have that bus. This lady apparently didn't do that. For some odd reason, she ditched. She went this way. They hit an embankment, came back up, and dragged the young girl to the other side and killed her. So that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for Annastashia Doctor to come on so we can get started. So I will have my people. I do have people. I'll call her people. Hey, what's up, Metro? I'm doing good, buddy. How are you? How are you? So let's see how he's doing. I sent her a message. That's how we people do it. We send each other messages. We got like that. I got my producers talk to her agent talks to. So we just wait. She said, okay, she's on. She's about to come on. So let's see. So you do know. So the story. If you see my video with Andrea, I mean, there's a lot of things that goes on to the story that a lot of people, like the DA. I requested a phone call with the DA. He never returned my call, which he's not going to do anyway. And there's a lot of peculiar things in this case that makes you say, wow, they didn't indict this person, which this person should be indicted. And if you look at the case, the DA says that certain things have to meet in order for this person to be indicted. So all right. So here we go. We have Annastashia Doctor. We'll go.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
I am doing great. I was like, oh my God, she's not going to come on. Now we stop.
No, I thought because you said it's 8:00 my time. That's what it came down to, 8:00 my time. That's what we talked about. Yeah, it's 8 because you said 8:00. So it's 8:00 where you're at, but it's still 7 at my time.
See, now we have to coordinate that the next time. I have to.
It's fine. No worries.
I have to ask people, where are you located? Which is not the first time it's happened.
Yes. No worries.
But I did put 8. I put on 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. But no, wait. The point is that you're here. That's all that matters.
I'm sorry that I will take.
That's not.
all
Don't
of
worry about
it.
it. Don't worry about it. I tell my production company. I'll take it out of the pay. All right. So welcome to my show. I'm King Gio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. So as you know, I've spoken to Andrea, and she told me about you, so I wanted to get you on, so you could tell us a little bit more about the movement, a little bit more of what you guys are doing. But for now, for this moment, tell us about Annastashia Doctor. Who is Annastashia Doctor?
Okay, so again, my name is Anastasia Doctor. I was originally born in Brooklyn, New York, so I'm far from home right about now. I'm from Bed-Stuy. I joined the Army when I was 19, and I had been in the Army for 24 years. I retired in 2018 in Honolulu, Hawaii, and then I moved here to Mississippi. I have 9 children altogether. I have 9 children altogether. Yes, yes. We have a lot of kids. It's a mixed family. So I have 9 children altogether, and we only have 3 left that's basically still in the house. The set of twins and a little boy, and we'll be empty nesters soon enough.
Okay, can't wait for that, huh?
Well, 6 more years, 6 more years, and we're good.
Okay, 6 more. Okay, 6 more years. Then after that, no more, right?
No more. No, 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 no. Not
Okay.
at all.
I'm good with
We
what
actually
I'm
plan
good with
on
what I
moving
have.
out of the country. We actually
Out
plan
of
on
where?
moving out the country. Out of the country.
You don't like it?
We, it's not about like. It's about I've traveled all over the world, and the simple fact of the matter is that um, I'm trying to preface how to say this, but it's not about like or anything. It's about migrating from danger. So during the Great Migration, Black Americans moved from down south to up north because there was more opportunities, and because of the hostile treatment and murders that was going on down south. So there's a great migration that's going on right now with African Americans that are leaving the United States. And to be totally honest, there's no reason for me to stay here.
And I'm not gonna ask for you. I don't worry about it.
I'm
So
sorry, you can
so
ask. Go ahead.
what? Oh no, I was gonna ask you. So where are you at now?
I'm sorry.
Where are you at now?
I'm in Mississippi. But the reason why I'm still in
Okay, you're in
Mississippi
Mississippi.
is because, yes, I'm in Mississippi right now. And the only reason why I'm in Mississippi is because my husband hasn't retired from the military yet. But if he was retired like him, we would have been left.
Oh, okay. And you would think, see, I would think, I would think that Mississippi is predominantly black. Or am I wrong? Or
Well, down south, as we speak, is predominantly white. I mean, predominantly black, but it's not. The situation is that when we're talking about power versus population, it's the same thing that happened in South Africa, where you had apartheid. The population there was black, but who was in charge of things?
white people?
And even when Nelson Mandela came along, that didn't change any situation like that. It was still
No, it did
predominantly
not.
white. That it was predominantly white people, and then you have to understand when people, just because you have a black face doesn't mean you have the same mind frame. Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
That you can have a black face, but that doesn't mean that the ilks of being a black person in this country is even going to permeate, or they're going to even try to change that. We just seen that recently with the ruling of Breonna Taylor, that the walls in the house got more justice than Breonna did.
You know, and now that you're talking about that, um, you made a great point when you said just because you're black doesn't mean that that you're supposed to think that like we could all think alike. Because it came to my attention. I was watching TikTok earlier on today,
Mm-hmm.
and Candace B, whatever that Candace Brown, whatever that girl is.
Candace Owens.
Yeah, her too. Candace
Mm-hmm.
Owens. She is actually justifying what the cops did.
Well, so this is what I would say to you is that this is nothing new. Okay. When you have a dominant society, you're going to have those people that assimilate themselves into that dominant society and start thinking the same way and parroting, right? So it's this book by the name of Thomas Sowell, and it's called Black Redneck, White Liberals. And what he talks about is the simple fact of the matter is you have a middleman minority. These are the vendors and the people that's like the stores and so on and sell you your goods or whatever the case may be, right? So when you have these people, more than likely they're either going to be of another race or ethnicity, or they may even be of the same ethnicity. But the anger of what's going on is going to be focused on them versus the person pulling the strings. So with Candace Owens is making money off of the things that she's saying. She's a grifter, and grifters are going to grift. Okay. The fact of the matter is, Candace Owens, when she was in high school, yes, she's a grifter. Candace Owens had a lawsuit against, I forget what town that she lived in, but she had a lawsuit against the mayor's son of that town because they threatened to kill her and was threatening her. And she went to the NAACP to ask for help, and the NAACP helped her. So the question is, now you have to go to the intellectual integrity of the person. Okay. So I don't discuss Candace Owens. She is she's nothing more than the enslaved population that told on every slave insurrection. Because if you know anything about slave insurrections, there's been over 500 slave insurrections in this country. They don't tell you about that because they don't want you to know that Black people never accepted bondage. Never accepted that. Okay. The only ones you hear of is maybe Nat Turner. You may hear about Denmark Vesey. But the simple fact of the matter, even with Denmark Vesey, there was 2 Black enslaved people that told on him. And that's why he was captured. So it's always going to be those things. There's always going to be these people that want to assimilate into the dominant society because they rather be a pet versus being food.
And that's a shame.
I mean, it happens. I mean, in anything that go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you were saying these my headphones. Go ahead.
No, anything that you have, you're going to have certain things like that because those people are getting paid. Those people are getting, accolades. Those people are getting the love that they feel that they need. So they're being brought into a cult. So you got to remember, when you have a Black person that all through their life they've been told you're ugly, your skin is dirty, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. And you have this trauma every day of your life. Every day you don't see yourself being represented. Every day you see yourself. And when a person comes to you and is like, hey, you think like me, you're not like one of them. You see what I'm saying? Those people get brought in and get, this full love that they get, but they don't look at the fact that it's tokenism, and the fact that now what I will say about her, she is a smart person. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of these people are not ignorant to what they're doing. You got the Jesse Lee Powells, you have the Hodge twins, you have the Diamond and Silks, you have the Herman Cains. You got all of these people, they know exactly what they're doing. And so when you see them, it's like, what are you doing? But they don't even assimilate themselves with you, you know? So you just, I mean, you have to let them go. Herman Cain paid for his grift. And what happened to him after he died? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. No, but you know what? But you know what? What hurts the most is that when she speaks something and she says something and she says numbers, because a lot of people, and then we're gonna get it. Then after this, we're gonna get it to Amaya. A lot of people,
Okay.
you know, when she says black killing on blacks, when she says there are a lot of African American girls who are having more abortions, and to me it's pathetic, because I say to myself, she's smart but dumb at the same time, because she's never lived in a neighborhood. So I say to people, if you live in a predominantly black neighborhood, who's going to have a tendency to kill you more? A black person, because that's where you live at.
Well, it's called proximity crimes. And so this is the thing, right? And not to cut you off. Everything that you just said was correct. Everything that you said was correct. What you have to understand, when you have a voting base that has all these things to worry about, some of these things that's in the weeds, they don't have time for it. You understand what I'm saying? So the first point you made, proximity crimes, right? Okay, why is it that we never look at white on white crimes? Proximity is crime. You're going to kill the person that you live next to. Point blank and simple. If you look at cops, or look at these shows like The First 48, if a white person is killed, who usually killed them? Another white person. If an Asian person is killed, who usually kills them? Okay, so now let's break down why this cornucopia of things is going on. So you have undereducation, right? You have underemployment. You have unemployment, right? You have gentrification. You have the working poor. So when you put all those things together, right? That is what you're going to have. And the system is working the way it was designed to work. Okay. The second thing about it, you said she talked about abortions. Okay. First of all, we know that more white women are having abortions than black women. Okay. So let's, because a lot of black women,
say that.
Right. We know that a lot of black women don't even have the funds to acquire an abortion. Now let's look at the second thing. Why are they getting an abortion? And why is that any of your business? The church, I'm a part of the Planned Parenthood as well. I'm a part of the NAACP as well. So let's look at all the things why would I bring a child into poverty? Why? For what? If I have other children, why would I do that? And let's not pretend that these Republicans, quote unquote, pro-life, which they're really pro-birth, because they want nothing to do with these children after they're born. Okay, let's be clear about that. These people are going to get abortions for their daughters. They're going to get abortions for their mistresses. So we can play this game and fill out these numbers. But at the end of the day, it is not my business. That's why I don't speak on it. Whether I agree with an abortion or I don't agree with it, that's none of my business, because you know what? I am not going to have to raise that child. Now, what happens when she does have the child and doesn't want the child? Where's the child going to go? The second thing about it is how she's going to pay for this. So the thing about it is that is a moot.
everything that you're saying is correct, because that's where I was going to lead to. That's where I was going to lead to. Because I was going to
Right.
lead to is that everybody likes to talk a lot of things, but we don't. You don't know what goes on. We don't know. We don't if a person is having an abortion, we don't know why that person is having an abortion. We're not walking in their shoes. We don't know. We don't know at that why. When she says there's a lot of Black African American girls who are single, who are single moms. Okay, fine. There's a lot, you can say the same thing about white people. There's a lot of white single moms, but we don't know. So my point is that instead of giving me the statistic of Black girls are having more abortions, instead of giving me that they're living in projects, that they're more unemployed than white people. I don't want to hear the whys. What I want to hear is, how do we help them? Why are they like this? So let's take them from a why to how do we make them to a preventive. So let's say, well, I lived in the projects in New York. I'm from the Bronx, and I lived in the projects before I moved to North Carolina. I lived in the project in Staten Island, so I can tell you for a fact what I could do to help those young girls in the project, because I know what they need. They need education.
Yep.
They need a good, steady job instead of going out there and saying, college is for all. No, college is not for all, because everybody's not college bound. But everybody has a gift. So if I tell a girl, listen, what do you like to do? Oh, I like to cut hair. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to send you to school. You're going to cut hair. I want you to get your GED. I want to empower you. I don't want to hear the semantics about, okay, why is your baby's falling in love with you? I don't care why the baby's falling in love with you. That's not that's not the point here. Is that, how do we get that girl, that individual, from here to here? How do we get all those people who are in the project? How do we get all those people who don't have an education? How do we get them an education? Because if you go to the projects, you see that they have no after school program. They have no basketball program. That's what they like to do. They have no baseball program like they did before. So what? They have nothing to do. So that's gonna happen.
So the thing, okay, right. So this is the thing. This is the thing. So you can have all the programs that you want. See, that's the problem, is because we feel like we want to throw money at things, right? We're going to throw money at it, right? You can have this program, you can have this program, you can have this program. But are you going into the neighborhood and talking to the people about what they need? Because a lot of times what happens is, it's like, well, we're going to do this because we think you need this, versus me asking you, okay, we got a certain amount of funds. We need to find out from those people that live there, right, what they need. Okay, so then you have the situation, like you said, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in a brownstone, right? I also grew up in Coney Island in the projects, right? So there was no programs out there. They didn't come to us. We had to come to them. So with the NAACP and Black Lives Matter, we go to them, because we can have program after program after program here at USM, but how many of them are coming up to USM? They just built a new police station, whatever they want to call it, up here in Hattiesburg. How many 16-year-old Black boys are going to go to a police station for a program? It's not going to happen. I'm not going to even go there. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a grown woman, I'm not going there for that. So that's why we go out into the public and ask them. They know what they want. They know what they need. And the simple fact of the matter is that a lot of times people say, well, the projects are, in bad shape. But why are they in bad shape? What's making them in bad shape? Are you sitting there and assisting them with these home ownership? Are you educating them on financial literacy so they can know about their credit? Because see, this is the thing. We have this iceberg right here. All of this is underneath. But we're all we worrying about is what we can see. Are Are we talking about the lack of financial education? Are we talking about the lack of we're sitting here sending our kids to college and they're giving them these bull crap degrees that they're not going to get any job for. Okay. And then the thing about it is, on turn with that, they're not sending them to trade schools. And that's why I agree with you. I told my children, you will go to a trade school, because 9 and 10 times when you go into college, they're going to try to get you these degrees that are, you're not, especially a bachelor's in arts. A bachelor's in arts will earn you, I think it's between 10,000 and 20,000 less than a bachelor's of science. And you know why? Because at the end of the day, at a certain age, what happens is that when you have those STEM programs, they forget about the girls and focus on the boys. So unless we're willing to get into the weeds of those things, we're not trying to do anything, to be totally honest. We need to get into the weeds of certain things. We need to understand, why is it generational poverty?
Finally, somebody thinks like I do.
I mean, because it's generational poverty. Listen, so you have a person that the grandmother lived in the projects, the mother lives in the projects, now the kids live in the projects. All the rent that you've now paid, you could have paid for 3 or 4 houses. But
exactly,
how are they going to know that? You understand what I'm saying? Those guys that's out there slinging and doing certain things, if you just redirect what they're doing, they will be business owners. You have to be a business savvy, talent management. And I'm talking about to be a drug dealer or to be a head of a gang. You have to have business management, talent management. You have to know how to articulate yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So those skills, those hard and soft skills, they can be used somewhere else. But we have to be able to support them.
I understand that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying the same thing you said. I said, if I was to come up to a youth and tell them, listen, why are you doing this in the corner that you're selling drugs? Let me tell you something. That same skill that you're doing right there, that you're selling drugs, you take that skill right there and put it to sell cars. Go to a furniture store, because you're getting that skill. If you're buying drugs, I mean, if you're a drug dealer and you got the skills to buy, you got a skill to do. There are things that you can do. But as a society, they don't teach that. Like you said, instead of being in the projects and paying all that rent, they can make a program. And that's what I did when I lived in the projects. I accessorized myself and how I can get myself a home. Because to be honest with you, in New York, the rent was $2,200 for a 3-bedroom house. Right?
Yes.
And right here, I paid $492 for a whole entire house. Yep. So why? That's what you need to do when young kids go into the projects. Instead of saying, "Oh, I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to pay water." You don't want to do that. You want to teach them. You know what? You're going to save. You're going to be frugal, but with that frugal comes success. You're gonna learn how to manage your money. You're gonna know how to do this. And there are programs that they don't teach you, but there are programs out there that help you with down payment and some other kind of stuff. But the system will not do that. Yeah. The system will do it to a white person. They'll get more information they want. Yes. But when it comes to black and Hispanics, they don't want to do that. So that's what this one is. I do my job. I empower people.
It's also generational knowledge, because I wasn't taught that. Right now, let me explain something about my family. My grandfather owned his own house and had renters in the brownstone. He owned his own business. Now, did my mother transfer that knowledge on to me? No. So it was a break right there. So when I raised my children, and we bought our first house and then bought our second house, you know what I'm saying? And I started paying off my cars and realizing that these extra material things mean absolutely nothing, because it's not wealth. They don't understand the difference between wealth building and having material things. You understand? So when you teach them that, and even when you teach them that, you have a generational curse. I use that word, a generational curse, but I don't know what other word to use, but that if I put these sneakers on, I feel a certain way. I put this jacket on and I feel a certain way. I get these things and they make me feel a certain way. And at the end of the day, I have nothing. So again, that goes back to the iceberg. That are we feeding our children what they need and not what we think they should have? Like I can tell you right now, I have never, and I know this is probably off track a little bit, but you'll see where I'm going with it. I've never bought my children a pair of Jordans. Never. I've never bought them these high price items. I've never bought them that. And because I tell them that this is what makes you who you are, not all these other things right here. And the fact of the matter, you have now just spent $300 on sneakers when you could have went out there, put $200 in your savings account, which is going to give you interest and all these things, and got you a pair of $50 sneakers. Now you got $200 that's going in your bank account that you can use for something bigger and better in what you're going on. So that's why I say, to be totally honest, within these communities, financial literacy has got to be on the menu. They took out home ec. That's another thing, because you had wood shop, you had home ec. Home ec actually taught you how to have a budget. So it's things like that they took out. I remember going to home ec. They took these things out to the point where these children are not learning those soft skills. So
No, it's not. Okay, so what brought you? What brought you to the A'miya Braxton story? What gave you that okay, we're gonna fight for this little girl?
So one of her family members, we had, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is only a couple of months old. We're still newborns at this, as far as Black Lives Matter Mississippi, to be totally honest with you. We were just a bunch of people. I'm sorry?
No, I said, okay.
We were just a bunch of people that saw that there was a need, and we all stepped up to it. All our board members are not Black, but the majority of us are Black, and we have one Latina. And our members are myriad. And I'm telling you this for a reason, because a lot of people think that when you say Black Lives Matter or the NAACP, that just means Black people. No, that's not what it means. And it never was intended for that in certain cases anyway. So anyway, one of her family members, I think it was her aunt, sent us an email, because the President Reginald Virgil, he's our president, he got the email. And then we just went on from there. We do a triage of what's going on, because what we don't want to do is involve ourselves in something that we know we can't handle. But it doesn't matter. You can still advocate for people, and I had heard about a lot of people think, well, what can I do? I can't do anything. It only takes one person. You know what I'm saying? It only takes one person. And you have how many, especially on Facebook, you have how many followers that you could spread this around. When we're talking about Cardi B and what's his name, Offset, somehow that gets spread around really quickly. But when we talk about things that actually mean something to you individually, it's kind of like we get this emoji, But anyway, back to what I was saying. So A'miya Braxton, one of her family members, got in touch with us, and we talked to her mother, and we were like, yeah, we're definitely, especially because we're in Mississippi, we can advocate for a child. So do you know exactly what happened with A'miya Braxton, or would you like me to go into it?
I read the story, but you tell it, because you probably have more insight than I do, because you are in Mississippi.
Right. So Amaya was coming, so it was her and her little brother. They were getting off the school bus. And I want you to look at it logistically, right? So you have the school bus right here. Where she lives at is right here. She didn't have to cross the street. So she walked off the bus to where her house was. Okay. The person by the name of Karen Carpenter. Karen Carpenter wasn't paying attention. She even admitted to she may have fell asleep or whatever she was doing, got too close to the bus, jumped over and swerved onto the Braxton's family land. Amaya pushed her little brother out the way. She hit Amaya, dragged Amaya under the car, and she was killed immediately, from what I understand. This woman, Karen Carpenter, was never fined for even following behind a school bus. You have to be 10 feet away from a stopped school bus. That's according to Nathan's law. She was never fined. They did a toxicology on her, but nothing ever came of it. She didn't have anything on her driving record, and she was able to go home that night and went to work the next day. So these are the type of people what we're talking about, that you murdered a child, and you was able allegedly to drive home with the same car that you murdered this child with. She was never arrested. And between the DA, which is Don Meldon, I think his name is John Meldon, and it's another lady by the name of Sadie. I don't know what her last name is, but Sadie in particular is linked up with Cindy Hyde Smith. So if you know anything about Cindy Hyde Smith, you'll know why I made that reference to that. These people are very racist, very xenophobic. Cindy Hyde Smith, if you know anything about her, she said she was talking about some gentleman that she would go to a public hanging if he invited her to. She was pictured in Confederate uniforms, saying that this was the best time in Mississippi history. So the only reason why I'm telling you these things, because I'm letting you know from the top down to Tate Reeves campaigning at basically. Yeah, Cindy Hyde Smith, you got Tate Reeves. He's basically a ad hoc KKK member. And you had Phil Bryant, where these people, he was, from what I understand, caught wearing blackface or whatever the case may be. So the reason why I'm telling you these things is because I want you to know who we're dealing with at this point in time. That these are not people that don't have an agenda. But back to Amaya. So there were 2 grand juries, and they decided that there was to be no justice for Amaya and her family. However, I think it was either 2018 or 2019, a child was ran over by a car in the same way Amaya was. However, that person was arrested and put in jail. The only difference between Amaya and this other child is, you could probably guess. So in Mississippi, I can tell you, Black lives don't matter. And I mean, let's be clear, they never have. We have so many Amayas. We have so many Breonnas that's here. We have so many George Floyds that are here. And again, that's where we're at right now. So although we may not see that another grand jury convenes, because let me be clear, she had a lot of people helping her. I know Jesse Jackson came down, but again, we're in a different time than then. Does that make sense? So we're trying to make everybody knows A'miya Braxton's name.
Everybody knows her name, but we need to put that name with a story and that all start and that all starts with bringing people down. Because when I spoke to Amaya's mother the other day, and she was telling me certain things, I'm like, well, if you come look at it, this is just me thinking. Miss Carpenter must have something with the sheriff.
Yes,
that's just me thinking.
They all do.
There's no way in the world, and you know it. If we get in a car accident, our car is going to be towed. If it's towed, and especially if there was a death involved, It's going to get told. It's going to get revised. It's going to get inspected because they have to do
Yes.
their thing. So when they
Yes.
go to court, they got all the evidence. In this case, they do that. So what does that tell you? They're involved. Okay, that's number one. Number two, and I keep telling everybody that listens to me. I tell them, a grand jury, to get indicted in a grand jury is the easiest thing in the world. You can indict a cat. It's not the same thing.
And a grand jury is nobody.
Exactly.
But a grand jury is literally
the people from
a couple of people. Exactly. Everybody thinks when you say grand jury. So, like I said, and it goes to education. And when I tell these people, and this is why, again, we tell people voting matters. Because out here in Mississippi, a sheriff is elected, but the sheriff does not have to have any extra experience or education. I can be sheriff. I can theoretically be a coroner, because a coroner out here in Mississippi does not need a medical degree. The coroner can have a high school. Yes. If you trust me, I studied this stuff because we had to make knowledgeable voters. The coroner does not have to have any medical degree. A medical examiner does. So that was the question. What are the qualifications of this coroner that looked at this and said it was an accident? Because people are trying to use this verbiage. Well, she wasn't murdered or killed. It was an accident. She was killed in this accident, or whatever the case may be. And the person was in the wrong anyway. So she should have gotten at least $100 fine according to Nathan's law. She shouldn't have been able to walk away like she did. Now, this is the other thing about it. The issue is that now her family doesn't live in Mississippi anymore. Why does A'miya Braxton's family not live in Mississippi anymore? Because they were threatened and intimidated because they wanted justice for their child. So that's another thing that's going on here, is that if you are Black and you want justice, they will hunt you down and isolate you and threaten and try to intimidate you. They continue to make this thing that Mississippi has changed. Mississippi hasn't changed at all.
Well, you can tell. Explain to the people what Nathan's law means, because some people are oblivious to that.
So Nathan, okay, I'm gonna pull it up so I don't misquote what Nathan's law is. Okay, is that okay? Because I'm doing it. That's what I was doing.
Go ahead.
That's why I didn't want to not look at the camera and stuff like that.
Don't worry about it.
Because I'm trying to look it up right now. I should have had it up already. But basically, here it is right here. I'm looking it up. I was gonna have that. Okay. Come on. You trying to look something up, and is that so? Nathan's Law is Senate Bill 2472, or Nathan's Law, was signed into law by then Governor Hallie Barbour and went into effect July 1st, 2011. Amaya was killed in 2016. I'm just pointing that out. The legislation was named for Nathan Key, a 5-year-old who was killed in December 2009 when a vehicle illegally passed his school bus as he was unloading. Okay, the following are major components of Nathan's Law. Requires motorists to stop at least 10 feet from a school bus when a school bus is loading or unloading children, and motorists must not proceed until all children have crossed the street to or from the bus and the flashing red lights are no longer activated and the stop sign on the side of the bus is retracted. Now, she broke one law already by being that close to the bus. Authorizes a charge of felony assault and a prison sentence up to 20 years for motorists convicted of illegally passing a school bus that in the process results in injury or death. She broke that law. Authorizes cameras be equipped on school bus stop arms to film perpetrators in the act. Now, I don't know if the school bus had that or not. I'm going to say no, especially in Mississippi where most of them don't even wear body cams. Required the development of at least 10 questions relating to school bus safety on driver's license tests. Established a school bus safety task force. Prohibits school bus drivers from using cell phones, wireless communication devices, vehicle navigation system, or personal digital assistance while operating the bus except in emergency. Increases the fine for passing a stopped school bus. She got none of that.
Mm-hmm.
None of it.
And I know you didn't. And listen, and this is what the DA said. This Waru guy. He said, and I quote, "This was a difficult case. I know they struggled with it based on the question they asked. When you hear about it, the first thought is motorist needs to pay. I completely understand that. That's human nature. But when you start looking at the law and how it applied, it becomes a difficult issue." Now, the funny part here is that he said that criminally, the case boils down to intent. Did the driver intend to pass the school bus, or did she intentionally strike the child? Neither grand jury found intent, so neither indicted the driver. Now, there's the funny thing too. It says there was no evidence Carpenter was texting. How do you determine that? There is no determination. You can't determine whether she was texting or not because she was the only one there, unless someone saw her and said, you know what, she was not texting or she was texting. But for a DA to say there's no proof that she was texting or not texting, that right there tells me that you're not a good attorney at all because you cannot determine that.
No, and it doesn't matter at this point in time. It doesn't matter.
I can tell you this much: something distracted her. She was distracted, or like you said, she was going to sleep. Because for you to be, you can't be that close. So for you to be that close, and then you know that if a minute you be like this driving, you look down, the next minute you look up, it could be right in front of you. So something distracted, or she was texting. Something happened, and she had to go to the right, or if not, you would have just hit the bus.
You would have just hit the bus.
So there is a cover up. So that's where I want, when Black Lives Matter comes in, that's why I want you guys to hit hard the most, because there's a conspiracy going on here. And that little girl, and not to take away from what happened to the other kid in 2019, the white kid, but those are the two same cases. And the driver was black, and they arrested him, but they didn't arrest Karen. So that has to be spoken about, because you just can't have the two things at the same time. You just can't have, because she's black, she doesn't get any justice, because this person is white, he needs justice. No, you can't do that. So that little girl needs, her voice needs to be heard, even from beyond. And the only ones that can do that is you guys, because their mother, she tried as much as she could, and look what happened to her. She had to leave her own state. So instead of the state, instead of the people surrounding her, instead of the people giving her love, instead of the people saying, you know what, we're behind you, they oust her.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the like you said, as far as intent, the fact of the matter is, you still shouldn't have been that close to the bus anyway. Let's think about a normal, say, if you have a normal traffic accident.
I'm sorry. What moron said? Because I'm just telling you what the moron said. Because he's trying to justify it.
Yes. And this is why, we're here. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, what does Black Lives Matter and Breonna have to do with it? Because the simple fact of the matter is that Breonna is Amaya, another black girl, a black woman that will not see justice. So let's not pretend like this is not systematic. These are not anecdotal things that's going on. What about a Tatiana? A Tatiana Jefferson was killed in her house as well. So was Botham John. How many of the other Amayas that were ran over? How many of the other Mayas that didn't get any justice in Mississippi or around this country? And again, how many more are we going to keep taking when enough is enough? Because today, a lot of people, they were talking about, I guess there was these 2 cops that was shot, and the violence, this. So this is my question. People asked you to wear a mask and you went crazy. Okay? People asked you to just stay home and you went crazy. But how many times do you think that people, and I'm not talking about just Black people, because you got a lot, like the little boy that was just 13, not to jump off the subject, but I'm just saying he was 13 and autistic and got shot by the cops. How many times Daniel Shaver was shot by the cops? How many times Justine Diamond? But see, Justine Diamond was a white victim. Muhammad Noor went to jail. You see what I'm saying? So my whole thing about it is how many times do you think Black people and people, just regular people, are going to continue to let this happen? And as far as violence goes, right? The violence is already there. You cannot expect that there's not going to be a response to that. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to certain things, if you're telling me that every time you kick me in the face, I'm supposed to let you kick me in the face, and my response to you, because just like with Amaya's mother, she was expected to be this person that, I forgive you. And no, you killed my child. You know what I'm saying? Whether I forgive you is neither here nor there. And with Black victims, if they show any amount of anger, if they show anything that they want justice, they're deemed angry and they want violence or whatever the case may be. When that little boy was shot just a couple of months ago, I forget what his name was, Cannon, I think, when he was shot in the head, it was all of these people. You remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want him to go under the jail, and he should have the death penalty. And it was all about this little boy. When is it going to be all about Amaya? When is it going to be ever about Emmett Till? You know what I'm saying? When is it going to ever be about Ayanna Jones and Tamir Rice? When is it ever going to be about them? Because we live in a system that Black lives are negotiable. Black and Latinx is negotiable, because we just had, what's the young boy, I think in California, Cardenas, I think that was his name. Do you know what I'm talking about? He was working as a security guard. His last name was Cardenas, and he was working as a security guard. I think it was in California, and they shot him. And so the whole thing about it, I know you know that just recently 2 cops down there was shot, and one of the cops that shot him, or one of the cops that was there, apparently they caught her laughing about it, and she was the one of the cops that got shot in this so-called ambush. Yeah. Wow. So the thing about it is, like I said, they can only expect a certain amount of, peacefulness, and that this is not going to result back into something.
No, I see. I understand you, but some people don't. I understand the fact. I understand Kaepernick when he kneels. I understand why he does that. I understand behind the Black Lives Matter, but there are people who just don't. No matter what you do, still won't get it because they haven't gone through what Black or Latinos have gone through. No. Because they think this is white America, because you have some people, if you look at the stupidity of people, they say, well, if Black people if they were just to shut up and do what the cop says, then this wouldn't happen.
Well, that's not true either because. But see, okay, so this is the thing, right? Let's be clear about what we're talking about. And I'm sorry, his name was not Cardenas. His name was Andres Geraldo. And he was killed July 8th, 2020. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I thought his name was Cardenas, but his name was Andres Geraldo. And I'm sorry, say it again. I'm sorry.
No, Andres Geraldo.
Geraldo? Yes. One of the cops that was either there or was laughing, and she was one of the ones supposedly, she not supposedly she was laughing at his murder. And on when it happened, on the site when it happened, they got pictures of her laughing about it. She was one of the cops that was in this ambush or whatever the case may be. And another thing I want to say is that what was Botham John doing?
Okay, who's Botham John?
Botham John was the black man that was shot inside his house by Amber Geiger. He was sitting on the couch eating ice cream.
Oh, that Texas girl?
Yes. Yes.
The one she got confused that was her apartment?
Yes. Yes. And so this is my whole thing. Okay, so let's look at what you can do as a black person to get shot, right? Let's think about it.
Really?
Playing with a toy gun. That's what I'm saying. So you can't walk fast, you can't walk slow, you can't drive your car, you cannot drive your car. You cannot ask for help from a cop, you cannot walk away from a cop. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, what can you do as a black or Latinx person and not be killed by the cops? Now, let's talk about what white individuals do when dealing with the cops. This guy just recently, I just looked him up. He killed his entire family, shot the black neighbors next door, then went into a shootout with 40 rounds at the cops. Where do you think he's at right now?
He's in prison. He's chilling 3 meals a day.
He's chilling. Dylan Roof, where is he at right now?
Just the same.
That's what I'm saying. So
he walked.
That's what I'm saying.
4 barricades of cops with AR-15, and they didn't do anything. Had that been a black or Hispanic kid or person, he would have been shot at.
First of all, let's talk about. I think it's John Crawford III. John Crawford III was in. Do you remember this when he was in Walmart? And he bought a BB gun from Walmart, was in Walmart shopping with the BB gun that he bought in the same Walmart. Somebody called the cops on him and said he had a gun. The police turned around. He went to turn around and they just shot him. That was John Crawford III. Okay. Oscar Grant. Oscar Grant was in, I don't know if you ever seen Fruitvale Station. That was about Oscar Grant. He was already laying on the ground. So, and the cop said something to Oscar Grant. The cop said something to the fact he thought he was hitting his taser. He was already on the ground. So why were you trying to tase him? Tamir Rice, so one thing I'm gonna say, Tamir Rice, he was playing with a toy gun, right? The cop showed up and with 2 seconds, Tamir Rice was dead. What the video doesn't show you is that his sister came up later on. The cop tackled her, arrested her, and put her in the back seat of the cop car. So she was able to watch her little brother bleed out. This is the type of things that I'm talking about. That everybody, they want to sit here and say that if black people would just do this, if black people would just pull up their pants, if black people would just do this. There was 4,000 people lynched in this country. Several hundred of black men were lynched in their military uniforms. Okay? If you ever look up Red Summer of 1919, a lot of people, they think, oh, well, if black people would just pull themselves up by their bootstrap. When you had Rosewood, you had Tulsa, you had Seneca Village, which you probably know is where?
I don't know.
Central Park. Central Park. Central Park, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have all of the Atlanta, they call it riots, the Atlanta riots and all these things, where you had a lie that came out involving a white woman, or more than likely it's about a white woman being touched, a white woman getting looked at. And instead of them, the whole town is destroyed, people are destroyed, businesses are destroyed. So this whole thing about if black people would just do this, or black people would do that, there's nothing we can do that would make you stop systematically killing us. So honestly, I really, I could give two craps about that anymore. I don't, when we have conversations like this, I do these things because I want a lot of black people to understand.
I am telling you, don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you,
right.
And I'm going to say how these idiots stink. Okay, because
I agree with you.
One of the things that got me mad was, if you see, and we're going to go back to her again. When Candace always did the George Floyd, she said, "Oh, but did you see the bag that he had underneath his mouth? Did you see that he was high?" Listen, I don't give a shit if he was high. I don't give a shit that he could have had a bag of coke in his hand. I don't care. That's not the point.
Right.
The point here is that they grabbed this man when they didn't have to, put him on the ground, and they need him for 8.5 minutes. That's the point. Regardless of what he did before, I'm not interested in that.
Right. And the fact of the matter is that the cops lied. Because if you remember right, the cops lied. They said he was resisting arrest.
Yes, and in the videos, there's no resisting arrest.
Yes. He wasn't resisting. He wasn't doing anything. So the simple fact, and then right. And the thing about it is that then my thought process is, what about the things that are not on camera? See, Amaya's situation wasn't on camera. So Karen,
that's bad.
You see what I'm saying? Karen Carpenter can say anything happened. And then you have these people that are calling the cops on black people for no reason. This stuff didn't just start happening. I can tell you right now that didn't just start happening. It's just the fact that most of the time we're like, oh, they stupid, they ignorant, whatever. I'm not going to deal with it. Me now, I'm to the point where and it's a sad state of affairs, I can tell you. When I walk out my house nowadays, there's a concerted effort of the things that I wear when I go out my house. Like, usually I would have my head wrap on, right? I would have like my earrings on, or I would have some kind of earrings on like that. And I may have my dashiki on or whatever I'm wearing that day. And the thing about it is, the reason why I wear that is because 9 out of 10 times, if I'm dressed like that, they're not going to say nothing to me. You see what I'm saying? But if I'm dressed in like jeans or something like that, they'll try me. And I tell them in a minute, you better try Jesus. Don't try me, because I'm not one of these people that's going to allow you to do something like that to me. It's not going to happen. And the issue goes into this situation is that black people have lied to the masses for so long that they think that our life is just like their life. And it's not. And because, to be totally honest, what the situation is, if I do tell you what's going on with me, you're not going to listen anyway. So what's the point of me telling you anything? Does that make sense? And when you have to go to that job, you got to lie to that white boss and smile up in their face, because statistically, black people are the last hired, first fired. And you got a family to so it's this, what is his name? I forget what his name is, but he wrote the poem, We Wear the Mask. So every day we have to put on this before we go out the house. We have to put this armor on. We have to put this mask on to be able to function in a day-to-day life. You know, I went into a barbershop the other day. It's insidious the way it is. I went into a barbershop the other day because what we do is we do Black Fridays on BLM, where we spotlight Black businesses. And everybody's like, not everybody, certain people will say, well, why don't you just spotlight Black businesses? Because what is the percentage of Black businesses? I think it's between 3 and 5%. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, well, why? Because, you know what I'm saying? So I went in there, and the first thing the guy said to me, well, there's a barbershop right there that cuts Black hair. And I was like, if I'm coming in as a customer, why would you even say that to me? And I had to tell him my husband is white. But that's not even what I was there for, is the crazy thing. I was not even there for that. I was there to see if I could spotlight the business. But as soon as he saw me, he automatically thought, oh, you're looking for a Black barbershop. That's not what I was looking for. You could have just shut up and seen what I was gonna ask you about, you know? And I just left. But it's things, you know, implicit and explicit things that happen to us every day. And you have to take it and not go she-hawk or he-hawk on these people. And that's just what the life is.
You go crazy if you do. You go crazy if you listen to the stupidity that people say. Like you say, you know, that we have. It's true. We have to put a facade just to appease another person. Because I tell my kids when I was growing up, one of the privileges that I think it was a privilege was that I had an Italian name. So I could go with that.
Right.
Are you Italian? Yeah, I'm Italian. Whatever. I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. When I went to a job interview, I would have to tell them what they wanted. Because the minute they would ask me, where you from? And I said, I'm from the Bronx. They had a perception of me. Oh, he's from the Bronx. He's this, he's that, he's that. So I had to take what I've learned from the street and I had to turn it around and I had to tell them what they want to hear. Oh, yes,
a salesman.
I will do this, I will do that, I will do that. Of course I will. Yes. Because if I go there like myself, well, I got no experience, I come from the South Bronx, I'm this and that. No, we're not going to hire you. And it's still, to this day,
code
it's
switching.
the same thing.
Code switching. That's all it is code switching. And a lot of people don't even know what code switching is. The fact that I have to basically, I wouldn't say speak a different, well, I guess it would be a different language, a different lexicon. Because in order for me to be able to function in this world, I have to speak in such a way that makes you feel comfortable. See, now I don't feel that way anymore because I don't have a job. I don't have to have a job. I'm retired. So I can say and do whatever I want. And, you know, that's why we speak about the reason why we do Black Fridays is for Black entrepreneurship. Because when you don't have this person on your back, you're more free to do and say what you want to do and say. And it takes you out of bondage. So that's why we push education, not necessarily just Black education, right? But we preach the fact that we should have a truthful historical education for our children, which includes everybody, to where Hispanics, Asians, you know, Indians, and I don't mean Indians like Native Americans. I mean Indians and everybody, and Native Americans are not just on the fringe of history. That this country would not be where it's at without the rest of us. Let's be clear about that.
Oh, we know that.
Country without the Native Americans, those people were cannibalizing each other and dying like flies. Let's be clear about that. You know, without enslaving Africans, you wouldn't have had the economic boom that you had with that free labor. Because a lot of people don't understand that when those people came from Europe or wherever they came from, America was seen as a swampland. Nobody wanted to come over here. And there's a book by Howard Zinn, Zinn, The People's History of the United States. You know, our current administration is having a war with that book because it tells the truth about what was going on. And it starts off with Christopher Columbus and how he murdered and went on a genocidal. Sorry?
The infamous Christopher Columbus.
Right. Howard Zinn, like I said, Howard Zinn is the people's history of the United States. Donald Trump just recently brought up the fact that he doesn't want those in the school. He wants patriotic education. Well, we know what dictators do. If you've read 1987, it's called Newspeak, and you're trying to change history. You're rewriting history. And so it starts at schools when we're uplifting these people versus telling the complexities of what's going on. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
And so, you know, what Amaya, I'm sorry, the gentleman that wrote that book, the poem, We Wear the Masks, by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Just to let you know, I wasn't able to bring up his name. And the other one that I like is Claude McKay. He wrote If We Must Die. And see, a lot of Martin Luther King said that in his time that the rules and Jim Crow were going for the old Negro, but the new Negro is not dealing with these things. And Claude McKay wrote, If we must die, let us not die like hogs in a pen, right? A lot of us new Negroes feel that way, that there's things worse than death right about now, that I don't want to have to be fighting another 20 years for my child to have to keep doing this and your child to keep having to do this and have to explain why blackface is not a good thing. Explain to where Cinco de Mayo is not really, a holiday. Like you whitewash that why there's not, or answer the other question that I hate answering, which I don't answer anymore though. Why there's not a White History Month. Certain things like that to where it gets annoying. And I it's a book that I have that it's a book, I forget what the name of the art what's that? Why there's not a White History Month?
The fucking country's fucking been white. You don't need a history month.
Why there's not a white? Okay, so let's be clear about this, right? So when I was in the military, I was the equal opportunity representative. So every month we had ethnic observance. So of course you had January, which was Martin Luther King's birthday. February was Black History Month. Then you had November is Native American Month. And I think October is Hispanic History Month. And every month every ethnicity had their own month. And then you had Women's History Month and stuff like that. So I can tell you, you could probably guess the demographic that would ask why there's not a White History Month. I'll leave it at that. And they felt like they wanted a White History Month. And so I told them, I was like, you realize that 365 days out of the year, we talk about y'all. And so what I started doing is, as the EO person, they asked me, they said, well, why we're going to make you a White History Month. And so I made them a White History Month. I told them about the Trail of Tears. Because you know who committed that, right? That was white people that did that. I told them about the simple fact that Japanese internment. I told them about the Asian Exclusion Acts, the Wetback Act, and that's what it was actually called, the Wetback Act. I told them about that. So what I did was I went through I have I have a calendar. Hold on, I want to show this to you, okay? It's a calendar, a 365-day calendar of white people stuff that you can have your whole year with the things that they have done. But they didn't like that. I was like, you asked for it. So here you go. Hold on for a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm back. So this is from the EJI, which is the Equal Justice Initiative, right? So they give a calendar every year, and you can go online. It's the EJI Equal Justice. These are the people that did the Peace and Memorial in Alabama, basically a lynching museum where they show everybody that was lynched or everybody that they know of that was lynched in this country. And so every month it talks to you about everything that you would want to know about as far as history, as far as racial, attacks and stuff like that. So what's today? September what? The 24th? So today, September 24th, in 1667, Virginia Assembly enacts a law this week declaring that enslaved Africans who convert to Christianity will not be freed from bondage. So it tells you every day of every little thing that they've done when it comes to Native Americans, when it comes to immigrants, when it comes to women. It talks about all these things. And I put this up in my office when I had it, and they didn't like it. I said, you asked for that, so here you go. Here you go.
Like it, huh?
No, they did not like it, sir.
Sometimes like they say, gotta be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, because I'm going to tell you. And then the thing about it is, we have to know who we are as people. Like, we have to know our own history. Like, for instance, with Dylan Roof, right? When Dylan Roof committed that act and he killed those 9 people, right? I don't know if you know it, but that wasn't his first time going there. That's the first thing. He didn't just show up there. He had went there before. But that was also, remember we spoke about earlier about Denmark Vesey? Yep. That was Denmark Vesey's church. And Dylan Roof committed that act 2 to 3 days before the slave insurrection that Denmark Vesey was supposed to complete, but that 2 enslaved people told on him. So he knows, they know the history. They know. We just don't know it. And once we start learning why they do certain things, like for instance, why they call themselves the 3 percenters, why they call themselves the oath keepers, why they do this, and all the symbology is because a lot of times we don't know what they're talking about. And we have to learn that.
Well, these are the things that they never taught us in school.
But they're not going to teach you that because they want this. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, that the American exceptionalism, American imperialism is so woven in the DNA of this country that when you're protesting against a tyrannical government, you're automatically protesting American government. But let's be clear about certain things, like I told you before.
Trump is not a tyrant.
I'm sorry?
I said Trump is not a tyrant.
I could care, like, for instance, that guy.
I'm being okay, we all know him.
No. What I'm telling you is that, okay, a lot of people think he's this existential danger. Trump is not an existential danger. You know why? He's the same as every last one of them. He just says the quiet things loud. President Obama sent more people back to their countries than Trump did. He deported more people back.
I know that.
The reason why we have the reason why we have the Flores Act, the Flores Act right now, the treatment of migrants and immigrants is because of the Obama administration. Had nothing to do with this guy. The second thing about it is, at the end of the day, the most drone strikes was hit by President Obama and George Bush and George Bush Sr. and Clinton and all of them. Bill Clinton locked up the most Black people than you would ever know. He is the one that did the 3 strikes rule. He's him and the other one with the crime bill and all of these things. So for me, this didn't start with Trump. He is not that smart for this to just start with him. It's systematic. The school systems that we have right now is not because of Trump.
He did say that he is the smartest person on earth.
Well, when you
trying to make you smile.
Oh my God. He has a very good brain. He has a very good brain. He
there you go. He got a very good. The best. As a matter of fact, when they did the congenitive test that he did, he said he scored the best. One of the best.
Yeah, the cognitive test.
He was able to put a box and on a box, a circle with a circle. Because that's hard to do.
And he knew what day it was. He knew what day it was, and he knew where he was at. Yes. He's a stable genius. You are correct about that.
Yeah.
He's a stable genius. And he knew the difference between, man, person, car,
and TV.
TV. I think that's what it was.
I have no idea where the hell he comes up with these things, the gibberish things that he talks about.
Because what happened was they asked him, they said, hey, what is that over there? And he was like, man, girl, child, car, TV, or something like that. And then they asked him 10 minutes later, can you tell us in order? Because you remember he said you get extra points if you say it in order.
Yeah, you get extra points. Ooh.
Yeah, so it's ridiculous.
He said he said like if I was a little kid, I get extra points. Oh wow. Yeah, but
I mean, the thing about it is, I'll say this with him, right? I forget who it was that said, I think it was David Banner that said this on the Breakfast Club. He said that Donald Trump was the best thing that happened to 1, America, and 2, Black America. And this is why he said why. Because when have you ever seen a time where everybody was aware of their civic duties? Everybody was pumped up about voting. Everybody knew about term limits. Everybody knew about bills. Everybody knew about all of these things because we had been lulled to sleep. And I honestly believe if Hillary Clinton had been president, we would have been going through the same BS that we're going through now. It just would have been quieted down. You know what I'm saying? At least with him, like for me, I'd rather a true enemy than a fake friend any day. I know you're my open enemy. I know I need to get rid of you. But then when you have the malaise and people being apathetic about it, it's underneath. Like Joe Biden, before Trump would have brought that up, did you know Hunter Biden was getting $50,000 a month to do nothing? Did you know that? I didn't. Chelsea Clinton, she is on some board or something like that. Rudy Giuliani's son is in office with Trump right now, and he's the sports director, whatever the hell that is. And all of their kids, this generation, this nepotism, all of them, John Kerry's son. So it's not like, and the reason why they're not going to tell anything. And the reason why they're not going to ask for his taxes is because they don't want their crap put on Front Street. That's what it's about. They don't want their stuff put on Front Street, the stuff that they're doing. That stuff that, what's her name, Lori Loughlin or whatever was doing. Mm-hmm. And her husband is the chairman. of the New York Stock Exchange, all of them were doing that. No. I'm talking about the one that
Laura
Aunt Becky.
Not Aunt Becky.
Not Aunt Becky. The one where she was trading when they found out about the coronavirus. And they found out about the coronavirus, and she sold her stocks. I thought her name was Lori Loughlin. But all of them have been that one, the blonde-haired one. Yeah, that's the one, not Aunt Becky. But even with the thing with Aunt Becky, you see that the black girl, she got a couple of years, for doing what she did, and Aunt Becky got to choose what jail she went
her own
to.
prison.
Yeah,
ain't that a bitch?
Yeah, she got.
I wish I had that choice.
So I mean, it is. I mean, and one thing I like to expose people to is that we keep pretending that these women, these white women, are these hapless concubines, and they're not. They are working because if you look at anything, well, first of all, 40% of all slave owners were white women. I'm gonna just put it out there with you. The reason why you have all these Confederate monuments around here is because of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. I just want to be clear about that. A lot of the laws and stuff that we have, we go to women's suffrage, that when they were doing women's suffrage, I forget, Katie Stanton or one of them was like, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, a black man should not get the right to vote before his mistress. And what they had with Ida B. Wells and a couple of black suffragists, they wanted them in the back of the parades. And Ida B. Wells was like, damn that. So a lot of these things that's going on, we think that these women that are in Congress, these women are sitting here fighting and, I just wanted to teach a Negro how to read. They're not doing that. So we got to hold their feet to the fire as well. So
that is true. See, I learned a little something today.
What did you learn today from me?
Yeah, I went to Bronx to Science and they didn't teach none of that.
What did you learn today, sir?
Well, I learned a lot about. I was not aware of so much. I didn't even put it this way. I didn't even know 40% of slave owners were women. That I did not know.
Yeah. Let me tell you a story before we wrap this up. So Martha Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
George Washington's wife, right? Mm-hmm. Martha Washington actually had more slaves and was more wealthier than George Washington, because slaves were property, right? So what ended up happening when they went and moved the capital and everything, they moved the capital up to, I think it was Philadelphia or something. It was between New York and Philadelphia. Wherever it was, I'm pretty sure it's Philadelphia. And don't quote me, I'll get the information to you later. Once you had, as an enslaved person, once you got to that state, it was a ticker. It was a time ticker. If you're in that state for longer than 6 months, you are freed, right? Martha Washington and George Washington knew that. So every 6 months, they would march their slaves out of that state and tell them they're going somewhere, and then bring them back, and it would start ticking over again.
Got you.
So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah. So it's a book. Hold on, I'm gonna give you the name of the book. It's called "We Were Her Property Too." We were. And a lot of people don't know that that either. That a lot 40% of all "They Were Her Property Too" by Stephanie Jones Rogers.
Writing that down. I'm gonna read that book.
They Were Her Property Too.
Rogers or Rogers?
Like, you don't even have to read it. You said what? I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me go back. Stephanie Jones Rogers. Huh?
Okay. No, so I want to be able to read it. Read something about it.
Yeah, Stephanie Jones Rogers. And if you look look on YouTube, she's talking about it as well too. And that's how I learned about it, because they always give you these movies where Miss Annie is trying to teach the black person to read. That's not true. But like I said, we just need to hold these people's feet to the fire. But back to Amaya. For all your listeners, I know we went off on tangents and stuff like that, but the injustice of what happened to the Braxton family is still going on till this day. Nobody wants to talk to them. Miss Karen Carpenter is living her best life somewhere in Alabama or something like that, and she is being protected. And this is why I brought up the situation about they were her property too, is because white women have always been protected when they do something. And I'm gonna tell you another thing. It's called the casual killing law. Have you ever heard of that?
Nope.
Okay, so the casual killing law was basically this: you can kill a slave if you are correcting them or disciplining them. And the reason why that casual killing law was made was because, so you had African women and you had the white slave owners. They were raping these women. And so what are you going to produce after that? You're going to produce a biracial child. So what the biracial children were usually working in the house. So these white women were killing these biracial children. And so they had to put a law into play where they could not be jailed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's why when I look at certain things, I look at the historical concept of it. That this white woman made a lie up, Carolyn Bryant, about Emmett Till. What happened to Emmett Till? Emmett Till was murdered. What happened to Carolyn Bryant? Nothing. What happened to her husband and her brother that killed Emmett Till? Absolutely nothing. Amaya, she was killed by this white woman. What happened to this white woman? Nothing. So the casual killing law, Betty Shelby, the one that killed Terrence Crutcher, what happened to her? Absolutely nothing. So the casual killing law has never gone. It's the Casual Killing Act of 1705. So if you want to look that up, and it's still in George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin. Nothing happened to him. The guy out there in Florida, that's stand your ground bullcrap, where he shot that man in the chest in front of his kids, in front of his wife, after he started the argument. So a lot of these things are going hand in hand with each other. And that's why I say people need to learn their history. Slavery has never ended. We know that from the 13th Amendment. That's where mass incarceration came from. That's where the black codes came from. I know you know about the black codes, right? Okay, so that's where you get mass incarceration and the black codes. Casual killing law. Casual killing law is nothing but stand your ground law.
Yeah, no, stand your ground. Well, we have to some way come together and change the mindset of people. We might not be able to change everybody, but if we change some, then that's good, because the way we're going, this is when we, it's kind of hard for you, like you said, go outside. You have to wear certain clothes this way people don't fuck with you. Excuse my French. You have to do certain things. And that's not the way to live. This is not the America that people envision. And unfortunately, you have people who are.
Martin Luther King talked. They love bringing up Martin Luther King, right? But Martin Luther King's it's a book called The Radical King that you should read. And there's a lot of his speeches that you should look into. Okay. You should look into the one, the letters from the Birmingham jail, where he talked about white liberals are our biggest hindrance from getting free. Okay. He also talks about the tale of two Americas. He tells about economic injustice. He talks about talks about reparations. He talks about the fact that a lot of people don't want to realize it. They always go to this I have a dream speech. Prior to the I have a dream speech, right? The first paragraph is talking about economic injustice. Okay? After the I have a dream part, is talking about economic justice. He talked about reparations. He talked about the fact that European immigrants came here and the government gave them schools and land grants but they weren't willing to give it to the Negro. He says this on camera. And that's why it kills me when people keep saying this is not what Martin Luther King wanted. You don't know what Martin Luther King wanted because you don't know what you're talking about. Martin Luther King also said that my dream has turned into a nightmare. He also said that I feel like we're integrating into a burning house.
I see that. That is true.
John Lewis, the one that just died, they made him, he was the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington. They made him change his speech because the archbishop that was there refused to say the invocation because of what John Lewis was going to talk about. John Lewis was going to talk about what side is the federal government on. He talked about the simple fact that the Kennedy administration came a little too late. And the fact that we're going to march down in the South like Sherman marched down in the Civil War. He said that. And they were scared. So a lot of these people that they're turning into Santa Claus, is so crazy to me that people don't read into what these people were actually like. And so that's a lot of things that we're doing is that we're re-educating people and let us introduce ourselves to who Black Lives Matter Mississippi is and who the people that we take our tenets from the Black Panther Party, their 10-point plans. We take our tenants off of SNCC and CORE. I'm gonna call him by his his Stokely Carmichael, but his name is Kwame Ture. We take our marching orders from people like that. And so we take our marching orders from the radical Martin Luther King, not this one that they've turned into grandpa.
Not the passive one.
Right, exactly. He wasn't passive. And that's the thing. So this is another thing I was reading today about Gandhi. And everybody's on this thing about Gandhi was peaceful. No, boo-boo, he wasn't. What happened was his people, they jailed Gandhi one time. And they burnt down hundreds of buildings. Hundreds of buildings the Indian people burned down. And it wasn't that he was this non-violent type of person. He just felt in that point in time. They did boycotts, they did all these kind of things, but they burned stuff down too. And again, let me say this, I am not advocating violence. That's not what I'm saying. What I want to say is that you know your history before you sit here and try to spout some crap to make the rest of us feel like we're doing the wrong thing. There's never in the history of anywhere been where the oppressors gave the oppressed their freedom without loss of blood and without loss of property. Never happened. If you can tell me,
we could sit here. We could sit here and say, let me tell you something. I'm like you. I don't advocate for violence at all. Right. But, and this is the truth. Right. What has peaceful talk brought us from day one? Shit.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
So
there are times that you have to say, you know what? Enough is enough, and I'm gonna burn a fucking building down.
But this is the thing. They don't. If you think about it, even with, because I'm looking for the guy's name for you. Even with, they've shown us, even with a murder happening, right? They've shown us that their property is more important than the people. So why do you think they're telling you? Why do you think they're sitting here telling you about we're gonna burn this stuff down? Because they know that you don't care about people getting killed. Breonna, the murderers of Breonna didn't even get charged with her murder. They got charged with bullets in the walls.
Yeah. It's just to say, it's just
so if all
the
those
Breonna
bullets
Taylor
went in
case.
her,
It's sad.
It's not even sad. It's actually typical. It's really typical, to be totally honest. I'm not gonna lie.
It's typical. It's typical. But when you have people say, "Oh, she had an ex-boyfriend there who was getting mail there," I don't give a shit about that. Your job as a police officer, your job as a police officer is to make sure that you make sure. Well, this is what I would have done before I even get a warrant. I would have made sure that person is inside the house, that person has been living in the house. And then I go in front of a judge and say, Your Honor, right now as we speak, I have officers that are telling me that he's inside the house, so we need a warrant. That's how you do it.
But see, that's the thing. They lied about. They lied about that. That was the whole thing, that they lied about it. And it was like, we come to this point where we think that police officers don't lie, when you have evidence that show that they lie all the time. They lie all the time. Like I said, for me, I do not lionize police officers in the very least. I don't, it is what it is. We can sit there and say, oh, there's some good ones, but where are the good ones when the bad ones are always doing stuff? Exactly. Show me where those good ones are. You know what those good ones are? They're dead or they've been fired. If you remember, I forget where it was. I think it was in the Portland one, where the girl was on the ground. She was just sitting there and the officer kicked her. The white officer kicked her. The black female officer is like, you remember that? I think she either got suspended or was fired. So don't give me this. She got fired.
There was another one. Yeah, there was another one in New York, like in the 90s, that did the same thing. She spoke up because she saw that her partner was being abused, and she got fired too. It's just like the movie Serpico.
She got fired. Yeah, and so my whole thing about it is, and they keep thinking this. They keep saying about, oh, it's bad apples in a bunch. Answer me this question: if only 2 or 3 pilots was, well, you know what? We only got 2 or 3 pilots that crashed planes in the mountain. Would you be letting them fly a plane? If I only had 2 or 3 doctors, well, we only got about 5 doctors that just let patients die. What do you think would happen? They would not be doctors anymore. I don't know if you have any people that you know in the military, but let me explain something to you. Even as a combatant,
my nephew, my cousin,
right? As a combatant, if a combatant is hurt more so than your buddy, you have to help the combatant that was just trying to shoot you. If any way I was to open my mouth and cuss and scream or kick at a local national, even if they're combatant, listen, I would be under Leavenworth. The thing about it is, it's not about training. It's about consequences and accountability. If they started being accountable for the things that they do, because I want to ask you a question. Those settlements, like they gave Breonna's people $12 million. Where do you think that's coming from?
Taxpayers.
That ain't coming from that cop. It's coming from, you're paying for it. So you're paying for the fact, anytime a New York police officer does something, you're paying for it. So why are they still being able to have a pension? Why are they able to still have back pay? Why? If I was to shoot somebody in the military, even myself, if I was to have a unlawful discharge, I'm going under the jail. And that's just, being a cop is the only time you can kill somebody and get get incentivized. So what's the incentive not to kill anybody? So as far as I'm concerned, when they say defund the police, I'm about defunding the police. Nobody's saying not to pay them, but they should not have military grade weapons or equipment. They should not have that. They should not be incentivized to kill and hurt people. I was just reading a couple of days ago when I forget what state it was in, but the police chief was giving them gift cards to the steakhouses when they were involved with abuse of power, of police brutality. So that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. We're giving now. People we're
gift cards.
We're incentivizing. That's where we're at. So I mean, I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah. So from right now, where are we going? What's going to be new with Amaya? I understand you guys are going to do a protest.
Yes. So not necessarily. I mean, it is a protest, but it's not going to be civil disobedience protest. We're going to do a vigil on the 4th. She was murdered on October the 4th. So we're going to do a vigil, an online vigil where everybody can participate. You can, her favorite color was pink. And so we asked that people wear pink. You can, have a candle. It's a candlelight vigil where you show a candle, you say her name, and you just put her name out there. On the 12th, we're going to have a celebration of life because October 12th would have been her. October the 12th is her birthday. So we're basically going to have different activities like, cupcakes, blowing out candles. We're going to have a balloon release. We're going to have a couple of people singing. We're going to have a banner drop, and it's going to be for Amaya. The next protest is probably going to be in Jackson, but we're going to be coordinating that with other groups. So it's pending right now. Because at this point in time, right, where we're at, she was murdered in Potomac, Mississippi. If we go up there to Potomac, Mississippi, those people are not going to talk to us. And so that's a consolidated effort. We have to bring people up there. You understand what I'm saying? And see, with us, we're in a situation like how we're going to, what is his name? John Whittle?
Whittle.
The DA, John Whittle?
Yeah, Whittle.
We go to people's houses. We're not going to go to that office. We're not going to go to the office for what? We're going to make you feel just as uncomfortable as Amaya's family felt. And if it takes for us to get arrested for people to start understanding that this is unacceptable, then that's what needs to happen.
I understand that. Hold on a minute. I'm getting my. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. No, I was taking off my Bluetooth because they cost a lot, but they don't last long.
Right. I understand.
No, because I was talking to Andrea, and I said, whatever I could do to help out, because it hurts me to know that that you have to you got ostracized in your own hometown, and instead of standing up with each other, because that's what you do as a community. You stand for one another. You stand with each other, and to have to move from there to go to the state,
right?
And then that's just it just keep it breaks my heart, because we're supposed to be a community of all, and we all know it doesn't take common sense to know that this lady Karen Carpenter was doing something if she for her to go off the road like that, so it's kind of sad, it really is. But I'm glad that her voice is being voiced out with you guys. I'm glad that she got in contact with you guys. And anything that I can help in my channel, we're more than happy to do so.
Well, what we're asking you is, again, October 4th, for all your listeners, October 4th, come to the Black Lives Matter Mississippi page and like and share all the tributes to A'miya Braxton. Because Amaya is in the same vein as Breonna, where neither one of them have gotten justice. And there's no reason why a 7-year-old child can be ran over, then dragged underneath a car, and nothing, absolutely nothing happened to this person. But then you have another child that's killed in the same vein, and they get justice. We're not doing this anymore. Like I said, there's no dignity in being abused. So we're not those people. We're not gonna sit here and be quiet. We're not going to have this etiquette of silence that the only people that's keeping that contract is us. That we should be quiet about our pain and what happens to our children and our women and our men. It's not going to happen.
I understand that. And I'm with you all the way.
Yeah, make sure October the 4th that your listeners go to Black Lives Matter page or the Black Lives Matter group on Facebook. And October the 4th and October the 12th, we're going to be celebrating her birthday. And we welcome everyone to show their own talent or their own way of grieving. Like me, we planted a tree for Jacob Blake and all the people that have been abused by police officers and white supremacy. Okay. We planted a tree out there. We did a libation ceremony. So my plan is to do a libation ceremony for Amaya and to honor her life.
Well, I'll be doing something on my channel because I have YouTube. I have YouTube. On Facebook, I'm on the Geo, so you can look for me there. You could friend request me there, and we can work some things out. I spoke to Andrea. I spoke to Andrea to see that if I can't make it there, that someone can go into my account, and then you can do a live from my account from Mississippi.
Right.
And man, this was and
if you just make a if you just make a pre-recorded one and post it up there, we'll post it. You know what I'm saying? Because we're gonna keep going and keep going. So it doesn't have to be live. You could just make something and just be like here, and put it up there, and we're gonna post it or whatever. And like I said, I'd like to thank you for even talking to me, because a lot of people could, put their heads in the sand and not care about a 7-year-old Black child. And we have seen that in history, that specifically Black women and Black children are forgotten in life and they're forgotten in death.
That is true. I do agree. Yeah, but we have to be a voice. We have to do something about it. If not, this is going to continue happening. This is going to continue to happen. And to happen, and in order for it to happen, like it happened in Mississippi, where, like I said before, on the beginning of the show, that I said that I thought that it was predominantly Black, and you pointed out it is predominantly Black, but the higher power are white, and that's the way it is, and it's correct, and it's unfortunate, But
right now we're living under apartheid.
Exactly, that's what it is. If we can somehow try to turn the balance to our favor, and when people say, when I say our favor, I mean equal justice. That's what that's
yes.
If I go out there and I do something and I get 10 years, and then this person is white and he does the same exact thing that I did, then he should get the same amount of time. That's equal justice. Not say, not say, we're gonna give you 6 months probation. No, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. So it's always, they say that equity is always oppression to the oppressor.
Exactly.
And so it's always going to be like that. This country was made for rich white male landowners. Period. And like I said,
the funny thing is that those people that we talk about, and those people that we don't mention that are in that same realm, they're afraid. They're afraid that if we rise, we will succeed. and they don't want to see that.
Right. No, the other thing that they're afraid of is wrath. The thing about what was funny to me is that this is my whole thought process. I don't want to be equal to white America. A lot of people say, "Oh, no, I don't want to be equal to white America," because then that means I would have had committed the things that you've done. Okay, I don't want to be equal with you. I want to be better than you, meaning that I want to make sure everybody has equity. And if it's not equity there, then I make equity there. And see, a lot of people get upset when I say stuff like that because I'm like, I don't want to be equal with you. I don't want to be equal with half of these people, because in order for me to be equal with you, I would have to ignore another group of people being oppressed and abused. I would have to make excuses for these people. I would have to just ignore it and just live in this world of Black America where nothing is happening to me, but this is happening to this Asian person because of coronavirus, or this is happening to what, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that. This thing is happening to this Hispanic person. This child has been separated from his or her family, and they're being locked up in cages. No, I'm not, I don't want to be equal with you. I want to be better than you.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it that way. You see?
Yeah, I want to be better than you. I don't want to put groups of people in slavery. I don't want to lynch groups of people. I don't want to get internment camps for this group of people because they're different than me. I don't want to fear you because of a different religion and make you look like you are this horrible, horrible person because your God is called Allah, which is only Arabic for God. It doesn't even mean, it means the same thing. I'm not going to do that. No, I don't want to be equal with you because of that. I want to be better than you, way better than you. Where men and women, black, white, orange, and green, are all being paid the same thing for the same job. I want the justice system to look at rich people the same way they look at poor people. It shouldn't be a two-tier justice system.
But it is.
I want everybody to be able to do the job. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I tell people I want to be better than white America. I want to be better than the founding fathers. I want to be better than the presidents, because I want to make sure everybody has equity and everybody's life matters. And it's not like that right about now.
Nope, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. But this was a good conversation. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Of course.
You're an astute young woman. I can give you that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I studied. I try to study.
Knowledge is the key to everything. Knowledge is everything.
So what books are you supposed to be reading? You said you was going to look at what books?
I'm going to look at that book that you told me they own them too.
They were her property too.
They were her properties. That one.
And then look at the one Howard Zinn, The People's History of the United States.
All right. Zinn with a Z?
Yep. I'm going to write it in here for you. I wrote it in the chat for you.
All right, Howard Zinn. Okay.
Yep.
Now I'm also going to do that thing. I'm going to see if I can reach out to that lady from Los Angeles who lost her child.
You talking about Andres?
Andres. Say with me, Andres.
Okay. Yeah. Because like I said, that cop supposedly, when that boy was killed, was laughing about it. Okay. And she's one of the ones that got, quote unquote, ambushed in that thing in Compton.
Wow.
But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And, we could probably talk. I can't hear you.
No. We're going to have, I say I appreciate you being here. And we have to do another live one day. And then you do more towards education. Yes. This was interesting.
Let's do it, sir. I'm here for you anytime.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good day.
Have a good night. You too.
All right. Bye.